with 2-inch nails.
That sucks.
Probably
Wait, our habitat
Longer
houses.
than that.
Our habitat houses were routinely built that way.
Really?
Yeah.
You'd have to hand nail it?
Yeah, but like when you have 20 college students with nothing to do, it's
You think this guy
ideal.
What if Jonathan doesn't have 20 college students, though?
I'd say get some. Welcome to the Fine Home Building Podcast, our weekly discussion of building, remodeling, and design topics aimed at anybody who cares deeply about the craft and science of working on houses. This is Senior Editor Patrick McComb. I'm joined by Associate Editor Matt Milham.
Hey, Patrick.
Good morning, Matt. It's nice to have you here.
Good to be here.
And Justin Fink, our Editorial Director, is here.
Hey, guys.
It's good to have you back, Justin. It's been a while.
It has been a long time.
Please email us your questions at fhbpodcast@taunton.com. You can find previous podcasts and check out the show notes at finehomebuilding.com/podcast. So, Justin, last time you were here, we were talking about your storm windows, and you made a prognostication that they would be done by heating season. How's that coming along?
I believe what I said was by the end of the month, but nobody really knew what month it was, so we're fine. They are not done. They're pretty close, actually. You
bought insulated glass for these?
No, it's just
okay.
It was just single pane glass, and that was $600 on its own. So that's fine.
That's a lot of dough.
Yeah,
Is it something special?
No.
Why is it so expensive?
It's a lot of glass.
I guess
got
it is.
Big ass windows on this house, and so anyway, I've been plugging along. I set up a nice little easel in my garage. I took the time to build like a little 2x4 easel frame with a cross piece that I could put the windows up closer to chest level, so I could
so you're not
do
bending
the glazing.
over.
It was a beautiful setup because I'm looking through the glass, and I set my laptop there on a little high bar stool, so I can watch movies while I'm glazing.
How's that work?
It's beautiful.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's because glazing is possibly the most boring thing you could do, except for installing shoe molding. And
shoe molding has got to be better than glazing.
I don't know. Shoe molding is the worst thing in building, I think.
Can you pay attention to both at the same time?
What, glazing?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Is it that mindless?
Yeah. Oh, you've never done any glazing?
No. Well,
no. It's pretty. All the difference in the world is using the Sarco putty. This is the first time I've used that.
And you have a special formula you like from them.
They make two, I think. They have Type M, and I forget the other one. But one of them is for one of them has to be done indoors, and the other one can be done in place outdoors. I'm using the more common of the two. I think it's Type M. And it's so much better than the common
the
DAP
33
stuff. And
is it 33?
Yeah, there's
33, 34.
Couldn't tell you.
Whatever it takes.
I think it's 33. But there's another brand too, but this is just smooth, easy to work with. I got myself a nice putty knife, nice stiff one, and a flexible one. It's beautiful.
I was very surprised last time I glazed a window and how much glazing putty I used. How much glazing putty have you gone through to do 30-some storm?
I'm on my second gallon, so it's not.
That's insane.
I'm probably about halfway through that one. But I'm gonna finish. I swear. I've been putting paint on. There's just no fast way to do it. I mean, because you prime the frames. You put and then you got to use oil primer for the rabbet.
Sure.
Then you put set the window glass in the putty. You got to put the putty on. You let the putty dry. Then you got to oil prime over that after it skins over, and then you got to paint the whole window.
And
so,
it takes days for it to dry, right?
I mean, there's no fast way to paint that, and yeah. So it's just, it's tedious. But I got the hardware now. Almost done with them. Going to start hanging them this weekend.
But in the midst of all this, you took on another project.
I took on like 2 other projects. You got to keep myself sane. I built 4 new carriage doors for my garage in the meantime during this.
I didn't know about the carriage doors.
Yeah.
You're keeping that a secret.
Well, I mentioned them when I was trying to choose between the storm window or the carriage doors.
Oh, yeah.
And then we came to the conclusion of buying all the material for both without telling my wife. And I did. But anyway, yeah, so in the most recent break from the action, which I'm sure you're leading up to, is the Dutch door.
Yes, that's what I was going to get to.
Yeah, the Dutch door was a blitzkrieg project.
It's really good looking, Justin.
I am thrilled with how it came out.
What's the hardware on the top door?
Which hardware?
The exterior. Is that a handle to pull it closed, or is that a lock?
No, it's a deadbolt.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a separate square deadbolt. So we did an article on this thing, and it's going to be in the April-May issue, I believe. and as well as a video series. And depending on when this podcast comes out, it's going to be within a week or so of that video being available for members. So sign up now, free trial.
Yeah.
And we did the whole how-to video. But
can I ask why?
Why a Dutch door? I think Dutch door, and actually it's funny you asked because I said this when I wrote the article. Part of it is I've always wanted a Dutch door on this specific door of my house, which leads onto the back porch. I just think Dutch doors are really cool. I like the idea of being able to open the top and leave the bottom closed for practical reasons of like keeping a baby inside or the dog inside or feeding the horse. But you can still open the top and get the breeze. And not only that, but like from a craftsmanship point of view, it's got a lot of challenges, which are just fun.
What about the airtightness of this? Have you noticed that it's leakier than a door with only one section?
No.
Interesting.
No, and you'll see in the video and the article the way I cut it's really not much different. You build it like one door. You build it like it's going to be a regular door.
Is that what you started with? Just a Simpson?
No, I built that whole thing.
The whole thing.
Yeah, we built the whole, and no mortise and tenon joinery. It's all just cross-lapped to be super strong but easy to build. Mm-hmm. You hang it as one door, and once you've got it fit, you take it off the hinges and cut it in half. And then that's where you add the rabbet where they interlock together and the weather stripping, and then you rehang it and you're done.
Obviously, the first time you hang it, you're using 4 hinges instead of 3.
That's the main difference, yeah. And there's a piece of bulb weather stripping between the two halves, and that one I did get insulated glass for.
I see. It looks great.
Yeah. It's I'm very happy considering that the project was conceived and completed within about 8 days.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive, man.
Yeah, we were on a tight timeline. We had to get something pulled together, so
looks really good.
It might be the fastest project I've pulled off.
The color's good too.
I don't want to
Did you
spoil
pick the
my
blue?
wife.
Yeah.
That is it's the blue I used on the rest of the house, on the sash on the rest of the house. Mm-hmm. Same colors as storm windows are going to be. Bungle House blue.
What is
Bungle?
Bungle House.
That is dumb.
When has a paint color ever been a good name?
The little shelf on the bottom door, what is that for?
It's really just
it's an aesthetic thing.
It's aesthetic.
Yeah.
I mean, it will shed water. It will direct water away from that.
And you put your beer on that when you're standing.
I was wondering, like, do you put a loaf of bread up there?
On a past Dutch door, I made a bigger shelf. But this one is, it's only like 2 inches, so you might be able to fit a glass. But it's also slightly tapered, so it's probably not great.
Anything you want to spill, you put there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I don't have anything nearly as impressive as that to show off, but I did do something that has changed my life quite dramatically. I installed a new faucet. And that is not the most expensive faucet you can buy at the home center, but it was close.
Was it $188?
I think it was $186.
It's funny because I remember talking to these guys and I don't remember the number now, but I met the guys who sell, it was either Moen or Delta or somebody.
This is a Moen.
And
this is a Fieldstone.
And I was talking to this
because it's so much like a faucet.
What a stupid name. Talk about stupid names.
Yeah.
But I was talking to this guy, and they knew down to the dollar what they could charge for, like, the cutoff between people are going to buy our faucets or they're not. And it was something around that price range, which is really funny. This was years ago, so I guess it still holds true.
What was happening is my old one was leaking around the spout onto the sink deck, and it was constantly requiring you to mop it up with a dish rag or whatever. So I finally bought this for Carol for Valentine's Day and put it in.
You're so romantic.
Yeah.
I know.
Keeper.
Yeah. I should buy my wife a garbage disposal. She'd be thrilled with that.
One year I got her a wheelbarrow. This is better than that. Come on.
So really, you bought yourself a faucet?
No, I mean...
Is this because you needed to take a break from working on the bedroom?
I just needed to fix this. It was just driving me nuts, right? It's been like, it was leaking for a year.
But what phase of the bedroom project are you in?
Nothing has changed.
What do you mean?
Well, so we built the coat closet in the living space and finished that, and so I moved the bed.
It's totally finished.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I went to the other room to start the new closet, cut the carpet, realized the floor is going to need to all be redone, and now it's sitting like that.
Okay, so that's why you put the faucet in. Yeah.
But I was telling Matt the secret to this whole project is this very special wrench that people see and they don't know what it is, but this is called a Basin Wrench. This is the only thing it does, but it's what you need when you need to replace a faucet because you can't fit anything up behind the sink bowl, right?
Mm-hmm. Do you remember when Rigid I don't know if they still make it, came out with that orange plastic extruded
Yes, they
wrench.
still do have that.
And it was their version. It was a different slice on this.
Yeah, this is a rigid tool that I have.
Yeah.
And then they came up with a new version that's simpler.
This is a Basin wrench. Now they also have a whatever
Sig
this
faucet installation.
It's like
wrench.
a multi-purpose
Yeah.
tool.
That's silly. This is
Yeah.
what you want.
Yeah. It's the most awkward wrench to use.
I didn't even know what
Basin
it was.
wrench.
When I saw that picture, I was like, I have something like that in my garage that my dad gave me.
You never used one
I
before?
Never used one.
Yeah.
Didn't know what it was for
Now
until
you
I saw
know.
that picture, and I was like, oh, okay.
They're terrible.
Yeah.
And it's not terrible. It's it's genius. It works.
It is genius. It's
Yeah.
a very purpose-built tool that's very hard to use. Not very hard, but it's awkward.
I can tell you the new faucets are easier to install than the old brass style ones. Like they have attached. I tried to find a faucet that didn't have attached supply lines just because like that's what I'm used to. I even had them already in my cart and I'm like, I know how to do this. But they all come with the supply lines attached now.
So now you just drop it down from the top and then
and it's got the hoses on it already.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So what did you need the Basin wrench for then? Oh, to tighten the whole thing down.
Well, yeah, and to get the old one apart, right?
Yeah.
And because it had been leaking for
almost
so long,
there.
it was all corroded.
We're one step closer to not needing a Basin wrench at all.
Yeah.
I don't know. Not true.
I want to live in that world where we don't need them.
And you haven't been doing anything.
Not really.
But-
No, I'm still working on that
Listen,
workbench.
Matt's got a hell of a spring and summer plan once the weather breaks, though.
Yeah.
I know. So, but you did find some important recalls we were going to tell listeners about.
Oh, yeah. There's two here. One was a Navian one for hot water heater, condensing water heater.
And wall-hung boilers, too, right?
Yeah, wall hung
Why does
boilers.
everyone call them a hot water heater?
I don't know. I caught myself sort of.
Yeah.
No, you didn't.
Not in time. But yeah, it's these. They've got some sort of conversion kit. It looks like
And what's the problem with these things?
carbon monoxide poisoning.
Oh, my
They'll
God.
kill you.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
We were talking about ways you can die, and like that we point out on our show.
yeah.
Is it CO poisoning better than plywood to the head?
It's probably less exciting.
We have a guy later in the show talking about concrete saw in the basement. That's another potential way to die.
Yeah,
I can't wait to talk about
I know.
that.
yeah. And then the other one was this DeWalt drill, which got announced by DeWalt during the shutdown.
The government shutdown.
Yeah, so the Consumer Product Safety Commission wasn't able to get on this one until, I guess, a few weeks after DeWalt
So
announced
DeWalt
it.
announced it before the CPSC.
Yeah, they announced it like January 10th, and then the CPSC got on it on like February 5th.
What's the actual
So
hazard?
these are corded
Shock hazard.
drills that'll shock you.
Yeah, the drill's wiring can contact internal moving parts, posing a shock hazard. 122,000 in the U.S. and another 8,000 in Canada. So
You probably
check
have
your
one.
drill. You probably have one. The DeWalt DWD 110 and DWD 112 drills.
Yeah, it's the clutched drywall screw, a drywall driver, right? I mean, that's
No,
what that's used for.
No,
Sorta
it's
looks
a
like.
it's a 3/8 drill or
it
half-inch
is?
drill.
it's
Yeah.
yeah. I think they're all 3/8. And they say if they have an X after the model number, then it's already been checked and it's good. But check your drills, guys,
Why are people still buying corded 3/8-inch drills?
because
Because it costs $80 or something. That was what
Yeah.
the CPSC notice said. So that's
$80 and we'll throw in a shock for free.
yeah.
all right. This is going well so far.
Yeah.
I will distract you on every topic.
I'm counting on it. Despite Rob Watzak's genius with the Word template, I still managed to get the sheets out of order, but I got it figured out again.
Staples.
We got it together over here.
Yeah.
Kevin writes to us on a recent Fine Homebuilding podcast episode. Someone said horizontal orientation is superior to vertical with regard to wall sheathing. They did not cite a source supporting the statement. APA maintains both installations are equally provided the panels are attached to framing or blocking. Can you please cite their source or at least clarify which, if either orientation is superior?
Kevin
So-
wants blood.
You
Yeah.
are responsible for this.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was I who said that.
I think I agreed with you.
And so, yeah, I think you agreed with me. And so I did dig into this a little bit. He's correct in terms of shear. APA does say that
It's the same.
it's the same as long as the edges are blocked when you install it horizontal. The issue comes up for wind loads that are blowing against the wall or sucking against the wall. In that case, installing it horizontal is essentially universally better. If you look at the AWC's wood construction manual, whatever, I can't remember the whole name of that thing, wood frame construction manual, something like that. But anyway, they've got tables in there, and especially when you look at the higher wind speeds, installing it horizontally is just far better than vertical, mostly because you have to upsize the panels quite a bit in order for it to thickness-wise, in order to handle the wind load. And also the IRC kind of addresses this as well, because they also have their little wind loads table. Their solution seems to be essentially to just upsize the panels just across the board so that you can install them either horizontally or vertically. But they say if you're using a 3-ply panel, doesn't matter the thickness.
Let's just say you shouldn't use those anyway.
Yeah. But if you're using a 3-ply panel of any thickness on studs spaced more than 16 inches on center, you have to install it horizontally, or as I think it says in there, perpendicular to supports. So
I think it's just easier to install it horizontally.
Well, I mean, it would technically be stronger vertically because you have no horizontal joints on a wall.
Well,
but the panels are made with a strength axis that is opposite of that orientation.
But along the length of the panel.
But to me, it would seem best practice to have your panels extend up and over the rim joist of the floor above. So putting them vertical would either require an awkward joint somewhere,
horizontal,
or vertical.
Okay.
You'd have, because it's an 8-foot panel, assuming an 8-foot wall. So you'd either have to have longer panels, which nobody buys. I mean,
they do make
they're available.
They're available, yes, but not conventional. So
Right.
why would you not? Yeah, why would you not go horizontal?
You should.
But
and I'm going to stick with that statement.
On the West Coast, they I think vertical is still somewhat common.
Yeah. But for the wind loads, guys.
Yeah. And
if you're looking at the whole, all of the loads that are going on the wall, then horizontal, as far as I'm concerned, and according to the data, look
better. Yeah. Makes way more sense.
Yeah.
Matt stands by his claim.
Yeah.
I'm with Matt. Someone's going to challenge me on something, though, already. I can feel it. Jay from PA writes, "Hey, guys, huge fan of the show and the magazine. Thanks for everything you do." Thank you, Jay. I wanted to provide some feedback on the topic of dealing with green mold all over siding, pavement, etc. I live in Pennsylvania, where we have similar conditions to what you described. I was dealing with scrubbing or power washing everything in sight to keep the green mold away. About 15 years ago, I discovered Wet and Forget, which is very similar, if not the same, as the Spray and Forget product you mentioned on the show.
Is Spray and Forget really a product? Or
Yeah,
were you...
as far as I know, that's the one Mike Girton had recommended.
So I wasn't sure if I had just gotten the name wrong, but they both exist. So
Really?
Yeah. I know you were joking on the show about how great it would be if something was literally that simple and you were done. Well, let me tell you, it really is that simple, and the end results are far better than what you get from power washing or scrubbing. You spray this stuff on and walk away and forget about it. It can take a few weeks for your siding, concrete, deck, etc. to come clean. But the most amazing thing is that it lasts way longer than a power wash or scrub. And the 5 years I've been using it, I find I don't need to retreat it for 3 to 5 years.
Come on.
Mike said pretty much the same thing.
Jay is so convinced he said he would buy me my first gallon if I was totally unconvinced.
You should say you're unconvinced.
So
Patrick will take you up on that.
Yeah.
Jay, I'm sorry to report, I've already bought the other stuff when I was buying my faucet at the home center. So I'm going to try this. I neglected to get the pump sprayer, which you need to apply it. I just forgot. So
You should return it. Go back for the pump sprayer and get the other one.
and have Jay send it to me.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, now I want to know. You got to try it.
You got to try both? I think this is an
Yes.
editorial exercise.
I think it is.
Okay.
I'm
on board.
This is reminiscent of Martin Holliday's
Backyard tape test.
backyard tape test. Yeah,
That's some good journalism.
It was.
That's really cool.
Anything that we can do as a torture test or a field test, I'm all aboard.
Joshua from Charleston writes us, I found episode 156 interesting and relevant to my post-contractor life. He's specifically talking about our discussion of international housing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Residential construction methods and the various tools used around the world have fascinated me since I first lived in France 20 years ago. Poured concrete houses with clay tile roofs, triple insulated windows, air gaps under roofing and siding, tile uncoupling membranes, wall-mounted toilets, curbless showers, simple hip roofs, along with so many other construction methods that make so much sense, have been the traditional methods in Europe forever. The houses in Europe, much of the Middle East, and many other countries around the world last for hundreds of years, whereas in the U.S., our houses tend to have a shelf life. I understand in the U.S. we are more about production and profit-oriented and generally throw up houses as cheaply and quickly as possible. In Europe, licensing and permitting requirements are a lot stricter than here and require high-quality materials and have more stringent energy-efficient standards. I have brought everything from toilet and sinks to electric roll-down shutters from Europe to install in my house in the U.S. 5 years ago, I married a foreign service agent and have been fortunate enough to do carpentry work in France, Italy, Jordan, and Turkey. The best tool I bought abroad is a miter table saw combo, the Bosch GTM 12, and we have a picture on our website for those of you. Do you want to describe it, Matt?
It's basically a miter saw with a
table saw
on top of it.
Is he going to talk about what he likes about this thing?
He just says,
hurt yourself.
My contractor friends in Charleston love the saw, except for having to carry around a step-down transformer to power it.
Yeah.
He sent me a link to a slideshow of the house he was working at in Turkey, and that'll be on our podcast page too, and check it out. It's an absolutely beautiful wood-framed house.
Can you give that model number again, the Bosch what?
GTM 12.
GTM 12. I mean, this thing...
It has a 12-inch blade. I had to look that up because it's 305 millimeters.
What's the size of the table on top of that?
That's what I'm trying to figure
12, 14 inches? Not even 10 inches?
It's for like ripping extension jams and stuff.
Okay.
Don't you think?
Yeah, probably.
I think it's brilliant.
I mean, well, so what do you think about, flipping a circular saw upside down and putting a piece of plywood on top for making a table saw?
I think if you use it with a fence that's actually parallel to the blade, it's probably fine.
Yeah. It just feels like this is this is cutting depth. The reason why I wanted to know the name is I wanted to look at some different angles of this tool so I could figure out how deep the table is, although I don't understand millimeters anyway, so it's kind of a moot point.
I can tell you 305 is about 12 inches.
Okay. Tool dimensions, width, length, and height. So it's 660 by 550 by 400.
So it's 24 inches by what?
550 width, length.
So that's like 18.
Okay, so we're probably around 18 inches deep or so. Looks like the tabletop. That looks like that would jive with the photo.
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem like very much on a tabletop.
No. But I mean,
especially when you have a 12-inch blade.
Housing is smaller in Europe, man.
That's probably not. That's roughly the same size as that Milwaukee battery up table saw. I mean, not
you mean the battery or
no? Just the depth of the table. I think is
right.
really
It was the same size as the Milwaukee battery.
No, but it probably weighs about as much.
How do you change the height of the blade, or is it just fixed? Do you think?
Oh,
you asked too many questions about this technology.
I know.
Yeah, because you'd have to adjust the table. Not the blade.
I mean, for people who don't see the picture, it's essentially you
took the top of the guard off a table saw or a miter saw.
The top of the miter saw blade is now sticking up through a tabletop.
Yeah,
to make a table saw. But I mean, the table would have to crank up and down to adjust the height, and I don't see a way to do that. But so in addition to it being a short table, the full blade height is exposed at all times.
They didn't say it was the safest thing.
It's even got a miter slot.
Joshua.
Why would you need a miter slot when it's a miter saw?
Don't want to move the wood.
I love your saw, Joshua.
Don't want to move it 8 inches.
Justin is not going to get to use it when we work on our projects together.
The miter slot is just the icing on the idiot cake.
Oh, the next question is a video question.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know. So Adam in Virginia sent us a short video showing us the leaks he discovered when demolishing the interior of his newly acquired 6-unit rental property. We'll put the video up on the Fine Home Building podcast page so all of you out there can have a look at your convenience. But let's see what he says.
This is a small kind of den, or could be a third bedroom. It's really quite small.
Looks nice.
So this is the wall that I'm having problems with. As you can see, there's some good rot.
All right, so we got the drywall insulation out.
Still wet.
We're looking at the backside of the
I
sheathing.
just opened it all up.
Yeah, it's plywood sheathing, which has probably
kind of wet
helped
down
it
here.
a little bit.
Where it's still there.
Where it's
Let
still
it dry
there.
out. Seems to be fairly dry up there. As you can see, still wet here, but I'm really hoping to let that dry out and then not have to replace it. Like I said, I'm pretty sure this was an addition, or it was the porch and they framed it in.
Looks like that, yeah.
So it's got that cheap wood
It's got lovely quarter-inch paneling that's been painted white.
I'm gonna rip that off and drywall it. But here, let me show you where the big problem is.
Yeah, let's go outside.
Right in here. This is the closet. As you can see.
So this spot has no sheathing left. It is
for
gone.
Quite a long time, and rotted out all of this stuff. That's the siding. That's the outside siding. All the sheathing has been.
This is gonna give Jeff
crumbling.
PTSD.
It's absolute garbage. The worst is right here and here. Seems to be drier over here, although still wet, but not as bad. Although that looks like it's about ready to start crumbling too.
So what's the question?
Absolutely no problem behind this. That's good.
So he's going to go outside and show us. He wants to know how it's leaking.
Check those out. That's kind of dry. And down there, siding, rot. Framing looks to be okay, mostly. I'm hoping if I just clean this all up and let it dry out, the frame will be all right. I don't have to replace that. I'm almost positive it's load bearing, so I really don't want to mess with that. This is the other side again. So this is a wall that was put in to frame in the closet. Hoping I can avoid ripping it out. All right, so now I'll take you outside and I'll show you the roof line and what it looks like up there.
Is this gonna get worse?
And then
Here's
not in
the
terms of
exterior.
damage,
This is
but
that
you
wall.
can kind of figure out what's going on there.
This side over here is where the
God.
crumbling and the sheathing is basically gone.
Yeah.
This side over here is not as bad, and it's uniform, kind of bad down here.
Okay, so yep.
I
We're going up on the roof, everybody.
thought maybe it might be a problem with the gutters, and as you can see, I think they're a bit low. No, no protection on the wood, but it's not rotted. It's just nice and gray.
Just dry right out.
Yeah, because it can dry out.
Yeah.
I was wondering if maybe the water was getting behind the gutter here.
Bingo.
Do you think maybe they
If it's
forgot
getting down
something
behind
here?
the side
Yeah.
here.
That was my
And then getting
first
inside.
inkling.
Yeah.
As you can
There's,
see,
no drip edge
Yeah.
there's
at all.
paint chips kind of here. I'm not really too sure what the condition of
I'm pretty sure I know.
flashing is like around the window.
I'm dying to hear what the question is because we're
Paint
seeing so
chipping
much
everywhere,
damage.
but the worst is kind of right there.
Like, what is he really asking here?
So that's kind of what I got.
Yeah.
I think the slope is fine. I have to double check it, but I'm almost positive it's fine. Roof is fairly new. Doesn't seem to be
Is there maybe an underlayment
any
under the
rot
roof?
I don't see it.
there. I'm not a roofer, so I'm not really too sure what the seam there, if that's accurate or correct or not.
Hard to tell.
It looks promising.
Yeah.
There is no other problem as far as water penetration
thing
in the
there?
house,
Yeah.
That's another problem.
except for this wall. So that's what we got.
That's what we got.
I'm guessing I'm gonna have to rip off that siding and resheathe and re-put the siding right back up. So probably
Spray foam
shouldn't be
the
too
back
much
of it.
work. It's only a little
Structural
bit
spray foam.
of wall there.
This
and
long
check
video
the
is making
condition
for
on the
great
window.
radio.
Yeah.
But my best guess is that the water is getting behind right there and getting inside.
I think he knows the answer to his own
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
Kind of makes the most sense.
Yep.
So anyway,
So
appreciate
there's a lot to unpack
any
here.
thoughts or
He
opinions.
didn't
you might
really
have.
ask it a
Thanks, guys.
question.
No.
He
but
wants to know
so
why his wall was
he's just
rotted.
showing off.
Where's the water coming in?
Yeah.
All right.
I think just the lack of drip edge, and you got that valley, especially where most of the damage is concentrated, is right
The valley.
by that closet.
Yeah.
Which
I think
is
the
right
valley is
under that closet,
funneling that water to the
Yeah.
gutter that's too small or too low, and it's just running behind it.
Well, and it's all splashing in there, and you've got no drip edge, and so the water is basically just bouncing right back up
And
in
going down
there,
behind the
going
siding.
right down behind the siding into the wall.
Yep.
The end.
The end. And the reason why the board at the top's not rotten
It's 'cause it can dry out.
It can dry out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was easy. Mm-hmm. This one
Easy to diagnose anyway.
Yeah.
Not so easy to
Oh,
fix.
and by the way, that is a load-bearing wall. So make sure you crib it up if you're going to have to do any reframing or whatever.
Right. I mean, with the sheathing gone, I don't understand how you could do anything but take the siding off and do it from the outside. What is the alternative?
I think that's what he
solution?
was suggesting.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's a solution.
I hope that's his own house and not
It's a rental.
it's not a scope creep on a remodeling project he signed on to.
No, I think it's an investment property. If you got 6 units, though, man, just think of the cash flow.
I wonder if they're all done by the same roofer.
Matt from Columbus, Ohio writes us, "Hey, FHB team, long time, first time. My wife and I are wrapping up a full home renovation, strip the house back to studs and starting over. There's one major job that I'm not sure of tackling or leaving to a pro. The basement has a water problem. When it rains, you can hear water trickling in the wall cavity, and after it rains, we get a slight stream of water flowing to the floor drain after heavy a downpour." Whose house does this sound like?
Yeah, sounds exactly like mine.
The house was built in 1946 with a full basement with block walls on a poured slab with no sump pump. I need a sump installed anyway and was thinking of putting in French drains along with dimple board at the same time to solve the problem. My wife and I have tackled most other renovations on our house, and I have some construction experience. I'm familiar enough with all the steps involved, and the thought of renting a jackhammer and gas-powered wet saw sounds really cool. Is this something that can be tackled by an above-average skilled DIYer? Is there anything I need to be concerned about that would push this into the realm of hiring a professional? P.S. Did I mention I get to rent a concrete saw and jackhammer for this job? It's my kind of guy.
Yeah.
Yes. Thoughts?
Yeah.
Don't run a gas saw.
I was going to say,
please.
you can get an old circ saw and just put a concrete blade
And they
in
have
there.
electric cut-off saws like this, too, meant for this application.
But if you have an old, I mean, we should clarify here. I think anybody can do this job. This is not a particularly
high skill.
Yeah, I mean, you have to
cut the floor,
cut a straight line. It's really more of a score, though. I mean, it's like you don't even need to have it be all the way through the slab. You just need to create a snap line. Yeah, so that
when I've actually seen companies do this work, they don't even score it. They just go right to the jackhammer, and then they have a rugged, rough edge to finish against.
Which you could totally do.
Totally do that, too.
But, if you wanted to cut it with a saw, just, snap a line with waterproof chalk, however many feet away from the wall. And then you use an old circ saw with a diamond cutting blade on it and set it for a shallow cut.
And
hook
be
it up to a
prepared
GFI.
to make a dust storm.
Well, hook it up to a GFI, and then what works pretty well. And I think Mike Gerton had an article about this for adding like a basement. Yeah, basement bathroom. Sorry. And he used like a little dust brush, like a little, and just used it to kind of sweep water in front of the blade as he was going. I've also seen masons take a plastic water bottle and poke a hole in the cap and then use it like a squirt bottle.
Yep. Or if you have an assistant with a garden sprayer, that's a great way too.
Yep. I mean, keep that dust down because it'll be brutal.
Yep.
But I would not run a gas-powered saw in the
And wear a
basement.
respirator because of silicosis.
Yeah. The respirator will not save you from CO, though.
Nope.
Will it, Matt? None of those respirators. I mean,
If it was
unless it's
air supplied.
Yeah.
That's the only way.
And I would say, before you dive into like cutting up your basement, see if you can fix everything outside the house before you do that, right? Like make sure your downspouts are not pouring into the soil next to the foundation. Make sure things are graded so water goes away. We solved the water entry problem in our house with what people describe as a ground gutter, which is a layer of plastic or EPDM that is just below the soil level outside, and it is sloped so water hits the soil and is forced away from the foundation instead of going down. And that fixed our problem. So
it's a pretty elegant solution. I mean, in fact, if I was going to build a new house, I'm not sure that I would even put gutters on it. I would just plan for ground
that.
gutters. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's in northern New England. That's what people do because they get ripped off, right, by snow and ice.
I mean, they look terrible. They're ruining my aesthetic.
The sump is, an adequate solution, but you got to think about where you're going to put that water outside. You don't want to dump it on your driveway or whatever, where it's going to turn to ice in the winter, and they do freeze up. It's like it's not perfect.
Yeah, mine goes somewhere into the side yard. At this point, I'm not sure where it actually leaks out of the series of pipes that are connected to it, but.
And you found yours wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah, it was going essentially
into the dirt.
Yeah, into a pile of rocks. I know it was under the rock somewhere. I haven't excavated that. And right now, it's going on the lawn. I need to dress it up. It doesn't look fantastic, but it works.
I had to do a sump pump replacement about a month ago. Mine
it doesn't surprise me because yours runs like constantly.
It runs a lot,
yeah.
And it finitely kicked the bucket and had to do an emergency
swap.
swap.
Your high alarm water alarm went off to tell you, or how'd you know?
It sounded different.
Okay, so you caught it before it totally failed.
It was still operating, but
was
it was
like
not
smoking
really
hot?
It really wasn't moving water. Like it was lacking power. to get it all the way out the pipe.
Do you have a backup sump too, or just one?
No.
Mine's got a backup also, so in case it gets too high, the other one kicks on too. So
is that electric or battery?
They're both electric. Well, and they're both on a battery backup.
Really?
Yeah.
That's really redundant.
Or at least one is on a battery backup. I know.
And
that.
you have high water alarms?
I don't know if I have that.
So this is a thing that tells you that your pump is not working, and it tells you that.
Yeah.
So you can fix it before it's a big problem.
It dangles down into the water, and it sets off an annoying alarm if it gets too high.
Okay.
So that you can stand there while it floods instead of being asleep
so
for
you know it's flooding.
Yeah.
All right. Jonathan from Ontario, Canada is up next. Hi, guys. I'm currently working through all the podcasts, and I have to say I really do enjoy listening to you guys. So I read these comments because I'm brainwashing the rest of the audience. They're like, oh, yeah, this is good. Right?
Yeah.
If enough people say it.
Yeah, then they'll change your standards.
My question is this. I live in a 1986 two-story country house in Ontario. He writes, that's in Canada, FYI, which is fun. The windows were updated about 8 years ago by the previous owner and done incorrectly. The siding is wood board and batten, and is getting close to needing to be replaced. Underneath the board and batten is 15-pound felt over horizontal furring strips and the insulation. There is no sheathing whatsoever. When I replace the siding, I also like to replace the windows and doors to ensure it's all done correctly. Will it be an issue for me to add sheathing and rigid foam insulation? I'd like to add as much rigid foam as possible, given that my house is currently massively under-insulated. Is it better to attach the insulation or the sheathing first? You guys seem to knock vinyl quite a bit on the show. I take exception to that. I'm a fan. In some instances.
I agree.
Which type of siding would be best for me to achieve the board and batten look without the maintenance issues of wood? Also, if you know a place in Ontario, Canada that sells Zip System or the Sprayon WRB that was recently in the magazine, I would love to know where I can get it. So, Canadian listeners, if you're out there, if you could help this gentleman, that would be much appreciated. If you could send us an email telling us where to buy those products, that would be cool.
Yeah, you might want to just broaden your search, too, to include other brands of spray-on weather barriers, because it might be you just can't find that brand.
Yeah, and so Stowe, STO is another company that makes this. Grace is another company that makes...
What was the one you actually did?
Tremco.
Isn't Prosico, isn't that...
Prosico?
I don't know how to pronounce it.
I've heard it said Prosico.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's another one.
Yep. There's several, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, they're common in commercial builds. So.
Yeah, so if you go and look for commercial coatings contractors, that might be another way to score some spray on
so
WRB.
Yeah.
It's expensive, though.
Doesn't Henry make one, too? I think Henry does.
They make definitely a fully adhered WRB. I don't know if they make liquid ones.
Okay.
But let's dive into this question. So
do we need to say something about vinyl first? Because I don't have a... I don't want vinyl on my house. I don't have a problem with other people choosing it, though.
Yeah, I mean, I've got it on my house. Patrick has it on his. I think we've been asked before, like, if we would do it if we were building a new house, and I think I've probably said I don't want it.
I'd say, what's the budget?
Yeah, but I don't hate it, and it lasts forever. So I mean, yeah, you get rid of all these maintenance issues.
It's a built-in rain screen.
Yeah,
the
I mean,
best
it's
part.
like it's one of the most durable choices you can go with. What I have a problem with is when people use it to cover up problems.
Yeah, totally.
That's just irresponsible. You can't have wood siding that is so at the point of almost failing, and then you go, I don't want to pay to fix this, so I'm going to cover it.
And that is a common scenario, especially in working class neighborhoods where people don't have enough money to pay someone to rebuild their walls.
Right.
And unscrupulous siding contractors will just put that stuff up and finance it for 10 years.
But I also think it's funny because we've gotten at least 2 letters in the last few weeks from guys who were upset that we seemed to be promoting vinyl siding.
I know. I'm keeping a list of things I'm supposed to like and things I'm not supposed to like, and I'm going to share that someday.
Keep them on their toes.
I'm supposed to like in-floor radiant heating too.
Really?
Yeah. Not saying that questioning the resource efficiency and necessity of that is not part of the equation. It's just you're supposed to like it.
But
foam is great. Put some foam on the outside. I like it on top of the sheathing, right? Because then
under the sheathing is problematic. It's not unless you're buying a product like Zip R sheathing that is incorporated or a nail-based panel. It just makes fastening harder for structural shear.
That's the main thing. Yeah. You're probably not going to be able to find nails long enough to go through a thick layer of foam. I think the max is something like an inch and a half of foam. And even then, you probably are not going to be able to find a nail gun that can shoot nails long enough.
You can find it. You just have to buy a new nail gun.
Yeah. And the nailing schedule is going to be insane.
Very tight.
Like 3 inches on center.
Yeah, they're very close.
Everywhere.
Especially if you're in a wind zone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, in most cases, it's easier to just put up your sheathing and then put up your foam. And I think I would venture a guess that the majority of people do a weather barrier over the sheathing and then the foam on top of the weather barrier, although sometimes people do treat the foam as the weather barrier.
That's fine, except you're relying on tape, and I don't think we have enough track record to say that tape is going to last for decades like it would have to.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the case with zip.
Yeah.
It's really no different.
I'm not saying a word.
Yeah. I mean, if that goes south, I'm just gonna quietly take a few steps back, resign, and move on with my life because I don't know how we're gonna roll back this many years of saying that tapes are a good idea.
Yeah. And by all accounts, those tapes are amazing, and we expect them to last forever, but we don't know.
Yeah.
What else should we tell?
I was gonna say that he was saying what's the best material for board and batten. You might consider actually getting
boards,
exterior sheathing, and then just putting fake battens on it. I mean, it's not a problematic approach. I mean, a lot of people do that on smaller projects.
You mean like T111?
Yeah.
And then just put battens on it?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, not that I love T111. It definitely has some flaws, but panel siding is, panel siding's panel siding.
So what's that stack up with T111? This has got me intrigued. So you have a sheathing layer, foam, and then another sheathing layer?
Yeah.
T111.
You'd want to have furring strips over the foam, but I would want to have that regardless.
Yeah.
Or some kind of furring to
unless
create
you're putting
space.
vinyl right on it, I would say.
You would attach vinyl to. How would you'd have to fasten it through the foam into the sheathing?
Yeah, with 2-inch nails.
That sucks.
Probably longer.
Our habitat houses.
Probably...
Our habitat houses were routinely built that way.
Really?
Yeah.
You'd have to hand nail it.
Yeah, but like when you have 20 college students with nothing to do, it's ideal.
What if Jonathan doesn't have 20 college students though?
I'd say get some.
Yeah.
But he also Martin Holiday has also written about like the minimum foam thickness you need for your climate zone, and check that out because I think I'm not sure what climate zone this guy's in, but it's probably like 2 inches he needs.
Can we look at that slide, Jeff?
Yeah, I think Ontario needs 17 inches.
Yes. So I looked up where Toronto. At first, I couldn't figure out the climate zone where Toronto is because it's not in the U.S.
Yeah,
and Matt points out to me, he's like, the code's name is the International Residential Code. I'm like,
they have extended maps.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
You're a genius.
Yeah.
So they're in either climate zone 5 or 6, depending on how close to Toronto they are.
So yeah. So what they're around a 2 inches. Well, it depends on how much cavity insulation you have too, because it has to be a ratio.
Right. So counterintuitively, if you have deeper stud cavities, you need more foam insulation because the sheathing wants to. There's not enough heat from inside the building getting the sheathing to dry it. So if you have more foam on the outside, you actually need more. If you have more cavity insulation, you need more foam.
How many builders do you think get that confused? I mean, it's because it's just so.
It's a little counterintuitive.
It's like, I don't want that much foam. I'll just go with thicker walls. You're like, well, now you need more foam.
Right.
So he needs what? I'm looking at the chart real quick. What is it?
1.5 or 2, depending on where he's at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's a 2x4 wall. If he's got a 2x6 wall, he needs either 2 or 3 inches.
Patrick needs a separate TV just in front of him, Jeff.
I just need a mirror. Can I get a rear view mirror? And then I wouldn't be able to read the chart.
Yeah, I was going to say, and then you need to learn how to read backwards.
I'm not going to do that. I have enough trouble reading forward.
Yeah.
Or if you got a ton of money, Boral board and batten.
Well, what would you do if you were just going to do straight up board and batten?
Pine
you would buy
boards.
Hemlock or yeah.
You mean, when you say pine boards, you mean primed, or you would just get pine?
So I have very little confidence that pre-primed products have a good primer. I think they have the absolute cheapest, crappiest primer on them.
I have yet to find one that can hold up.
So like right there, I'd rather have unprimed stock so I can prime it myself.
Yeah. So you'd buy 1x10s, 1x8s, 1x10s of just pine or whatever, cedar.
So I've done this, except I didn't do board and batten. I did a shiplap. So I bought pine boards from a sawmill, right? Live edge or rough edge, right? Resawed them, put a rabbet on them, and made them myself. I wouldn't recommend doing that. But I would recommend buying boards from a local sawyer, right? Pine and
Hemlock.
Hemlock's cool.
Yeah. I think that's traditional.
Patrick has some beautiful clear pine on the sides of his building, all covered in paint.
All painted with latex paint.
Well, the same thing with this door. This door, the Dutch door I did, was beautiful Doug fir with this nice tight grain, and I'm going through going, I gotta paint this thing at the end of this?
Yeah.
It's rough.
I don't feel bad about it because, like, I'm not having knots fall out, right? I don't have sap bleeding very much. There is some kind of small pockets of sap that do show up, but you just get better stock that way.
Yeah.
Some of the boards were like 20 inches that would kill anyone who was like a shaker furniture maker to see me saw it into siding.
Yes. I remember when those trees came down and all that wood. What happened was somebody at work had to take trees down, so they said, I've got enough good trees here that this is worth it to get milled up, and we can all kind of spread the cost around. Anybody who wants to buy some lumber.
I don't see there was much spreading.
So all the guys in woodworking bought pine for making furniture, and Patrick took a big load and used it for siding.
It like filled a U-Haul truck. That was a splurge. That was several grand to buy that stuff, but it's the coolest part of the building for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, this is my favorite question. We saved it for last here. This comes from Ryan, who is currently living in Western Washington, but considering moving back to the northeastern corner of Connecticut, where we call the Quiet Corner.
The Quiet Corner.
Yeah. Afternoon, guys.
The Quiet Corner's, right, northeastern. Sorry.
Right?
Yes.
I know nothing about Connecticut.
Ryan,
You're in it right now, Matt.
I don't know much about Connecticut either. Afternoon, guys. I'm about to begin the search for another house. Trying to narrow down the search leads to my question. If you were to choose a house from any style era, what would it be and why? This is like one of those questions like when you go on a first date that someone might ask you, right, who was an architecture nerd.
Oh, my God. That'd be the best first date ever.
The thought of a well-built new house is great, but I don't know if I can justify all those resources being poured into a new house when there are other homes out there that are vacant. Thanks.
I agree with him.
That it's more responsible to buy an existing home?
I'm a big fan of putting time and money into old houses. I think it's good for the community. It's good for your soul. It's good for, keeping a bit of the past alive.
It's often a good investment, right?
Yep. And, and often the materials that were used back then were
better.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, what's the downside except it might cost you?
So, old house, what type?
So when we're talking about style, style and time period, do they go hand in hand? Because...
He said whatever.
Yeah, because, when you get into, like, the 1920s is when you're going to start to see the shift in how things were built from...
Timber frame to...
timber frame and even...
balloon frame.
Yeah, balloon frame to switch over to platform frame. So I would... depending on what kind of a life you want... if you want to kind of take an educated guess at what's behind your plaster or drywall, then I would say you're aiming 1920s and later. If you want to have a goat rodeo, you want to go 1920.
You like to roll the dice kind of person, yeah.
Because okay. I guess that's partly for me is I'm just not as comfortable with those old timber frame houses because I don't know. Like load paths are not as consistent. Like I don't have as much mental.
They're so redundant, though.
Yeah.
So you can just cut those suckers right up.
Yeah. But there's a certain charm with those old houses, late 1800s.
Especially when you live in New England.
New England, you can find them to late 1700s if you want.
16s.
Yeah.
What about you, Matt? What's your go-to?
I don't know. I've always had a spot for stone houses, and I know they're probably cold and drafty, but I love the way they look.
I think it's his Irish ancestry that makes him want that.
1700s, probably
nice,
English farm.
Nice peat farm out
back.
back.
Like an English cottage with a nice, steep roof, slate roof. Stone walls.
You know what?
Too much maintenance there. It looks nice, though.
I have a little bit of a sweet spot for Victorians.
I grew up in one.
What do you think about actually living there?
It's cold.
The rooms can be small.
The ceilings were real high. I want to say 12 or 14 feet on the first floor.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Wow.
And, did you have like transoms above your interior doors and stuff?
I can't. I think there was, over the main entry door.
I mean, just in terms of the craftsmanship, they're just cool. It's kind of like a craftsman playground. You get all that exterior ornate detailing and the interior with the nice compact turn staircases and, often the ornate moldings, the tall moldings. It's just, I've never lived in one, but, and they seem like they'd be fun to remodel.
I'm going to answer now, and I'm going to say that I'm pretty agnostic about houses, right?
Double wide.
I lived in a single wide in college.
I have friends who call those skinny houses.
I like really old houses. I do. I love colonial architecture, especially.
Yes. Yep.
I love Victorians. I also like mid-century stuff. I do like stone houses that are veneer. I don't think I'd want to live in a stone cottage in Ireland. I get cold easy.
The town I grew up in has a street of stone houses. It's supposedly the oldest street in America, they say, I think, because it's got all these old, I think maybe from late 1800s to early 1700s.
Well, that's not nearly as old as
No, not as old as this stuff in Europe or anything. But
or even in New England.
Or
even
oldest street in America.
I think
freaking lying.
1640s maybe is like the earliest ones. I mean, it's because it's a collection of homes. It's not just like one old house on a street.
Right.
That's what they call
like
it.
Mine.
Right, yeah.
That sounds like a little civic boosting to me.
Yeah.
Well, so
I didn't even say what the name of the town was.
I love colonials, and I especially love those kitchens with the fireplace and like it's so great. But there's just not a lot of light in those old houses, in the old colonials, because of the size of the windows and the spacing of them.
That brings me to my next point. So
okay.
I asked Ryan what kind of styles they liked, and his wife is really into Craftsman.
Okay.
Which is something I also love.
Craftsman houses are great.
But I would not want a Craftsman house in New England because of regional appropriateness. Like Craftsman houses in Southern California last with their brackets and stuff because they never get wet.
Right.
If you tried to have that house in New England, it's going to rot.
There's a lot. I think you see them a lot in Jersey. New Jersey, like historic parts of New Jersey, have some kind of bungalow style houses.
Sure.
They work. You just have to decide which facets of it.
What part do you want to maintain the most?
Right. I mean, listen, those brackets are still easier to maintain than a Victorian.
Oh yeah, especially because it's way lower.
Yeah.
But I think it's very important to pay attention to regional styles when you're talking about a house, because the things that stick around are the things that work.
Right.
So we have this bungalow here, which is in Southern California. Very attractive home, right?
Yep. Low slope roofs are going to collect snow like nobody's business.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And
I would say always stay away from complicated roofs.
Yes. This idea of everybody building these houses with these ridiculously complicated roofs.
With dormers, and it just makes no sense.
I have one problematic valley in my house that consumes most of my thoughts. And these people are building houses with 14 valleys.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I would also, unless I lived in Las Vegas or somewhere else in the Southwest, stay away from stucco under all circumstances. I don't think there's a way to do that in a wet climate that's not going to lead to problems.
It's tough.
4-foot overhangs.
Do we have other house photos, Jeff? So you were talking about colonial.
Yeah, that's
right?
a New England house.
Yeah, that's a form I really love. But look at the size of the windows. They're 2 by 2 because when these homes were built, they were freezing.
Yeah. Not only that, but you couldn't get a lot of glass.
There was no glass. Yeah.
Those are the smallest windows I've ever seen on a house.
Yeah.
And I love
like
capes.
portholes.
But capes are a problem because of the knee wall in the second story, right? Those are always problematic.
Capes are so fun to add on to, though. You can put dormers on them, like doghouse in the front, shed in the back.
And you see a lot of this form in northern New England that has some kind of connecting breezeway connected to the barn or the garage. And it's just
gorgeous.
a form really works well.
I like the stone wall in the front. What the heck is this?
Now, this is a dog trot. So this is a southern vernacular. And why is that hole in the center of the house?
For horses?
Nope.
Dog trotting.
It's hot. It allows the wind to go through the house to cool it off.
So how do you get from one side of the house to the other?
You walk through it.
You get hot or cold.
Yeah.
But I think
I have never seen that style house before.
I think that's a beautiful home too.
It's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's cool.
And you also notice it's got a huge porch, right? Because outdoor living in the South is a huge thing.
I love a porch.
I do too. And I think that's really in any place excepting Antarctica. It's something you need in a house.
Yeah. You got Ray's Ranch on your list, Patrick?
There's one reason to like raised ranches.
This actually, before we go to the next house style, slight departure here. This came up with my wife and I. What do you think is the most prevalent house style in the country? What do you think is the most of?
Ranch.
Single floor, single level ranch?
Yep.
That's what I thought too. Raised ranches might be giving it a close second.
Yeah. Are people still building a lot of those, though? Single level ranches?
That I don't know, but I can tell you a guy in my neighborhood just built a raised ranch.
Yeah, raised ranches go like crazy.
I don't understand that
It's
at all.
the cheap floor space, man. Your basement is part of the living space, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so terrible.
And the overhanging part that they always do to squeeze 200x is a huge energy suck, right? Because
it's like
you got a nice spot of cold floor there.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
No. My other favorite is Foursquare.
Foursquares are nice.
And the porch. Look at the porch.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
I would never go inside.
The Foursquare makes a lot of sense because the hip roofs that are always on there shield the siding from rot and water, right?
They're gorgeous.
It's just a cool shape.
It's a lot of the things about a Foursquare are the things that I like and are similar to things in Victorian houses. It's the kind of the proportions of it, the tall, and this one. It's just that you kind of lop off one side of the porch and then change the roof line, and you sort of have a Victorian.
Yeah.
And this is probably at the end of the Victorian era because it does borrow some of those elements.
Yeah.
But those and those old train stations are the only kinds of buildings that I really like a hip roof on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Most parts, and on this podcast, I've been wont to describe my hatred for
hip roofs.
Yeah.
There's a reason to like hip roofs though in the deep south where there are hurricanes, right? It's a much stronger assembly.
Yeah, it's the only thing I like about the deep south.
Sorry, all of our deep south listeners.
No, I'm just kidding. I like the deep south.
The homes are beautiful in
they're gorgeous.
The old south. It's
life is pretty gorgeous in a lot of parts of the deep south.
And I'm talking about houses that are both working class and mansions, right? The long, skinny shotgun style houses in Louisiana, around New Orleans, and coastal Mississippi and Alabama. Those are beautiful too. I think they're just really a cool form.
What style would you build in if you were going to start from scratch? I think I would go farmhouse.
I love the salt box.
Really? Yeah.
I don't know. It's just cool shape.
They're pretty great. Center chimney?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. This has evolved since I've lived in New England for almost 20 years now, right? I don't think if somebody would have asked me 20 years ago, would I want a colonial house? And I would have said, no. Too much work.
I grew up in a pretty modern house, and I have no desire to go back to that. Yeah. 70s modern,
So what is it you don't like about that? Because I think those are good looking, but they have a lot of glass and they're probably cold.
Yeah, I like a consistent style, and they feel like a mixing pool of styles. They're just sort of shooting from the hip. We'll make this wild roof line over here, and then this big window over here, and it doesn't feel like time-tested, proportional, well thought out design.
Mm-hmm. Just trying stuff.
It feels sort of like a middle finger to design. But I'm not into abstract art and those kinds of things. So it's just a personal thing, really, for me. I like architectural order.
Yeah. I like details that do something, like the goofy stuff that people put on gable ends or whatever. Yes. It drives me insane. But pediments were meant to shed water away from the window, right? And that it looks great, and it's for a reason.
Right. You should. It pays to think about the way the details are stacked. The one thing that I can't figure out with a lot of colonials though is why they stuck with that front door on the eve end of the house where it's going to get covered in snow. It just didn't. It doesn't make any sense. It didn't then. It doesn't now.
Yeah.
And it's the same with
because they never had any
capes.
overhangs.
Yeah.
And that's because of wind. I'm told. If you're on Cape Cod, you don't want overhangs to catch the wind and rip your roof off. Right. Sorry about the mic, Jeff.
Were they trying to tackle ice also, like ice dams, by removing the
in colonial America?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It just seems like that would have been an issue as well, having crazy ice dams. So if you just eliminate that
if you're
overhang,
doing a timber frame, it almost makes it extraneous to have overhangs, right? It's like not.
It's complicating.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Overhangs are a huge part of a successful house.
Assembly. Yes. Even like stucco homes without WRBs behind them can do okay if the house has sufficient overhangs.
Yep. Yes.
So that's the one thing I don't like about colonial architecture, especially those really early capes and salt boxes, because they don't. But somehow those houses last. But it's probably just that they have no insulation and they're like got fireplaces you could stand inside, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
I also made a note here: stay away from anything from the '80s.
Yeah. You'll find a lot of
What's
that,
your
though.
favorite, Jeff?
I don't know. I mean, if I were to do it again, I think I would go something mid-century.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Cool. Have you lived in a house like that?
No,
I wonder if you'd change your mind if you did.
probably. I mean, that's the way my furniture taste is migrating. So I think
Really?
yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, I don't know. I like more of a cottagey feel. I like to have lots of little nooks and crannies and detail work and less open, vast spaces with Swedish furniture.
I really like that too.
You need one of every style, really,
Yeah.
except for Razor Ranch.
Well, I'm sure that wasn't helpful at all, but
It gave us a chance to talk about house styles, though. That's
it's
really
fun.
the point.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Well, I think we did everything.
I think you're right.
Covered a lot of ground today.
That was a good show.
Made some new friends, new enemies.
Thanks for being
Yeah.
in.
Sure.
Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have today. Thanks to Matt and Justin for joining me, and thanks to all of you for listening. So we haven't gotten any new reviews on iTunes or YouTube for weeks.
Come on, people.
Please let people know.
Can I also say that people should go to keepcraftalive.org/donate and get a Keepcraft Alive hat,
You're
which are
wearing one.
brand new. I am modeling one right now for the podcast. They're awesome
I like
hats.
black.
They're great hats.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have chosen a hat that I wouldn't have worn myself.
So what's the recommended donation?
So you buy the hat and it's a healthy priced hat. I think it's like $34 or something, but it's because
It's a fundraiser.
It's a fundraiser.
Can I get one of those?
No.
$34.
Yeah.
Yeah.
$40 for you.
Well, thank you all for listening, and please remember to review us however you're listening to us, and happy building.